Welcome to Living the Dream Iowa Life. I'm your host, Hannah Nuss, and each weekday we'll share enthusiasm for what's possible and dive into the stories of Iowans living their dream lives right here in the heartland. Whether you're chasing a big goal or just looking for a little inspiration, we've got you covered. Let's change the world together. This is Living the Dream Iowa Life. Let's go. Heyo, welcome to Living the Dream Iowa Life podcast. I'm your host, Hannah Nuss, and today we are talking about truth tellers mostly. And today's question and topic really is being a truth teller dangerous? And I think in the landscape of where we're at right now in the world and the country, I do think that people with conviction who stand for something, and I will tell this personal story as a guide for us in this narrative, but I think people who stand for something are obscenely disruptive to people who have wavered their entire lives. And even though the conflict usually is in they're standing for this and these people are standing for this, I would say most of the offense, like true offense, truest problem, deepest insecurity, comes down to someone that's unrooted. Seeing someone solidly rooted in a knowing when you have uprooted your entire life is deeply unsettling to the human psyche. This is not to just, oh yeah, that bothered me. They said that. It's like, whoa. They're not wavering. They're not changing their position. They're not changing sides. They're in this thing. They're saying these things. They're saying them. What? No. They can't do that. They can't know something that solidly. No. I'm going to do everything in my power to break that up, to disempower that, to break that down, to threaten and demolish that person. I'm going to do everything that I can to go around and make sure everyone knows what a terrible person they are. And most of the time, is that person terrible? Probably not. And I will say I've had multiple conversations with people who are, I don't know that they're necessarily truth tellers. They know their truth. And so they speak their truth out into the world. The truth about their business, the truth about where they're headed, the truth about who they know they are. Even when that's somewhat unfigured out as well. But like, this is where I stand today. This is who I am. And this is what I know. Take it or leave it. And at this point, people aren't taking it or leaving it and being done. They're taking it, learning all of the things, and then they are actively dismantling, trying to rip apart, trying to disable the people who are owning these truths, who are solid in their conviction of the things that they know. It is really wild. And I would say, obviously, there is a lot of turmoil in the outer worlds of what's going on with people who own their truths. But I would say in my own personal experience, just kind of reflecting on the dangers of owning a truth right now, of standing for something, of doing that work and putting yourself out there. As someone who has written a book, I mean, it's scary. And as someone who owns a public facing business, as someone who runs a podcast and is a figure of sorts, definitely not paying for the blue check mark though. Okay, sorry. I'm a public figure, but not the paid kind. It's kind of scary because I've seen it firsthand. I've felt it, and I've seen it with friends who own their businesses. I've seen people do these same things, and I will say it usually comes down to people who are very solid in what they are saying and what they are knowing. And for the reasons that I just described, the obscene amount of drama that is behind uprooting, the goals of that drama, the goals of that kind of root ripping, isn't generally dissatisfaction. It's generally mob mentality. So much mob mentality. And with social media comes the ultimate mob game. We don't even have to really have a face. If you were ever confronted by that person, even if gently, it'd be amazing how quickly you'd disown that comment, right? How quickly you'd go, oh, yes, I see your perspective now. Except for you would probably never ever have that conversation. But it is just a wild west of active uprooting. And I term this uprooting as the inability to rise beyond kind of our lower chakras. And I don't know that it's a bottom up type of thing, but I will say just kind of watching people's rhythms. Like you can feel, you can hear in the language that is used. And I know because I speak that language. I actually speak that more fluently than my current. Yes, that is my native tongue. I am extremely knowledgeable about the uprooting process. I was raised in the land of lack of roots, friends. Every time that it seemed like we got comfortable or we were about to kind of get in stride, we'd uproot. Oh, we found a church we really love. Everybody loves going to it. Uproot. Oh, we have a school we really love. We love our town. This is a great place. Uproot. You know, just as we were starting to kind of settle and get comfortable and get true in our knowing, this is where we're raised, this is who we are, this is what we're about. Well, no, too comfortable. And the same would go with family relationships. Oh yeah, we're friends with them, and then on the way home, just talking crap the whole way home. Oh, they did the uproot. Right, like I'm so confused because as a kid, I thought we had a good time. I thought we loved our family, but we don't. So we just talk bad about everyone. That's just, we don't like anyone. And I don't know, this like toxic cycle of pulling up any connection or tie, this toxic cycle of not letting ourselves ever get rooted in life was just a terrible way to live. Like you could never call anywhere your community. If you did, it was no good anyways. It was a terrible community. Blah, 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 blah. This is not a good place. We're never here because we work somewhere else. Like you may be here, but we're not really here. We don't do anything in this community unless we have to because it's your school thing. I mean, just this wild ride of lack of roots. And I remember becoming an adult and deciding very firmly that like I am going to get a job and I am going to stay there forever. Because the problem wasn't really growing up. It wasn't that like we were so broke. It was just that we kept bouncing from job to job to job. And I think if we had all just kind of stayed, everything would have worked out and we would have ended up happy and well paid and fed. And I think it just was, we were always ripping up our own roots. Sometimes there wouldn't even be a problem. Someone would make one. And, I see that now, and I feel that now. And though I got the job that I was planning to stay at for the rest of my life. I really was. I was content with that. It was a great position. I was moving up. And there weren't even any problems. Like, it was really great. I loved it. And then I just felt this stronger call to go do this other thing. And we had been building up to that. And then all of a sudden it was like, okay, nope, you're going to do this thing. And I, as badly as I wanted to, like, do not uproot. You have built too much here. As badly as I wanted to stay in that, I couldn't, and I wasn't left with a choice in all reality. So I did uproot, but in an attempt to find where our roots were going to end up. Like, we were considering moving at that point. We were going to completely uproot because this was the problem. We were going to leave all of our family, even though they're all right here, which, at that point we were like, well, maybe that's the problem. Like, maybe we are supposed to leave. And it was just like, I don't think changing the landscape will matter. I think that will help initially shake things up. But every way that I wrote that story in my head, we always end up back here. So I didn't see any point in leaving. I saw more point and purpose in making sure that we travel, but not in moving away, because we would always be coming back. Every time that we traveled, we'd have to come back here to drop off kids or to make sure that we have holidays here. I mean, it would have to be a part of our travel. And why? And so I left to plant firmer roots, to make sure that we figured out where we were going to go, and for me to find something that I felt really excited about every day, to build something that utilized all of my skills and talents so that I could be this expressive, hype, amazing. I don't know how to use all of these gifts. I was only using kind of the analytical side of my brain, which is a really important side for me, but I wanted to also use the creative and find a way to change the world. And I wasn't doing that with the work that I was doing. And so I uprooted. I did. I absolutely did. In an attempt to finally plant some roots of knowing. And I couldn't know from that perspective. There was no way for me to get to the depths of discovery that I needed to, doing that job. Kind of staying in the muck of, I don't know, of just a ton of people not doing what they want to do. It was too messy. It was disruptive. I couldn't stay balanced in that environment. And therefore, I left. And then I went in search of who I was without all of these things. And that was probably the vital piece, was without all these things, without titles, without paychecks, without anything. And that was really humbling for me, and very importantly humbling. And I would say most people wouldn't have kind of ran into the darkness and despair like I did, because it's really scary. That's not even putting it mildly. When I describe the panic attacks that would pass me out over that stint of self-discovery in my book, I think most of that was just swirling and spiraling around this thought and idea that I am nothing. I am nobody. Nobody cares that I exist right now. And I just left a world where people actually did, where my boss would text me if I didn't come in that day. No one cares. And it sort of reframed who matters anyways. Because my boss wasn't texting me because she cared, although I think she did, honestly. But, right? Because she's going to get held accountable by someone who pays her, and that pays her bills. And if she doesn't hold me accountable, then they're going to hold her accountable for not holding me accountable. And so she needs to get to work. Not because we care about her, because she needs to be at work, because that's what she said she would do. And that's what we agreed upon. And to value that your kids caring whether or not you're up and able to care for them and hang out with them, your husband, maybe your family, but at that point I was so out of balance with what mattered that, like, not having anyone care or text me day to day, no emails, nothing, really sent me spiraling into out of control panic and anxiety. And I think on the other side of that, you're forced to figure out what works for you. And this has been one of the harder truths for me to own, and I think probably some of what I've been running from unquestionably since the discovery, is this really deep spiritual journey. And I think mostly because I grew up with just extreme Christianity, where, like, we couldn't walk around on Halloween. We could only get in and out of the van because dark spirits were out on Halloween. And we weren't so far that we didn't get to celebrate at all, but we were close. Okay? We were pretty close. And so I think just growing up in that environment where there was this fear of dragons and demons and darkness, and we should only seek the light. And so going on this quest to sort of dive into the darkness, to go into really deep self-worth and break down a lot of limiting beliefs, and eventually get back to the light. But the way back to the light for me was this deeper spiritual yoga, meditation type of work. And since tapping into some of those gifts, I do feel like, oh no, this is too hooky. And we live in Iowa, and let's not go there. And I know that I didn't bring a lot of it to the podcast in real time, just because, again, small town Iowa, like, who do you think you are? No one wants to know about any of this. And I guess I wouldn't have either, except I wasn't willing to accept sort of the pharmaceutical option of controlling what I was feeling, even though I was given that option. I wasn't willing to accept the numbing of those feelings. I felt like those feelings were really important, and they were pushing me towards some knowing that I needed to get to. And so when I didn't have that out, I had to find something. And it was deep, deep meditation, Kundalini yoga, and the understanding of chakra energy and how all of that works. And now, kind of getting back into that world, it's almost like instant relief, almost shockingly so, because I will say it took me such a long time to figure out how to meditate, how to get into that state of awareness, how to sort of balance my body in a way that I could get in those yoga cycles, how to stay in my head and not let outside chatter in. It took almost a year of focused practice to finally be able to save myself. And that is what book number 2 is about. It's all about that spiritual journey, that way back to soul and self. And I didn't have a choice. Like, I was kind of slowly suffocating is probably the best word for it. I mean, I would just reel and reel and reel and like just rock, and I couldn't handle my own emotions. And all I could do was sleep. And I think because spiritually I was obviously going through something, I think from a soul perspective, it needed rest. But I'd get so angry at myself for needing rest because I'm a worker. I'm a workaholic. This is not who I am. Really, you're so soft. I've gone soft. Like, great. I'm spiritual now. And now I'm soft. And what used to be really great about me, and maybe one of the only great things about me, was how solid I was and how competitive and sort of intense I was and am. And to not have any of that now because I had this newfound spirituality just felt like just another loss of core identity. And finding somewhere to stand in my own truth is where I had to get to. And so, starting the show, kind of talking through how scary it is to be a truth teller in these times, I think I have experienced firsthand just how polarizing the world is right now. And I don't think that it has probably changed that much, but I will say that with the new engines of communication, whereas before, and I've explained this to friends, before you were writing letters and dropping them off in each other's lockers. And probably by the time you got a response, most of the drama of whatever your friend did or didn't do was pretty much gone. You're not in that hyper reactive state where you are angry and foaming at the mouth. Like by third or fourth period, it's probably calmed down a little bit. Maybe you went to science class and got a really hard assignment and now you can't even focus on that drama. Hey, I know I can't write you letters the rest of the day because I got this new science project, so I'm good. We good? I don't know. I don't even remember what we're fighting about. Now we can react so quickly to the initial sting, right? With social media, with text, with phones that are never put down or away. We never have a break from any of them. We never have a break from the outside world getting in. And so it is, I don't think that people have changed that much, but I do think the method of communication absolutely has. And it's a really kind of dangerous place to be in as a truth teller because you are going to make people mad. No, Oh, I want this. Do, 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 do. And if you don't do this for me, then I'm going to do, 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 do. Okay, no, because that's not who we are, and that's not how this works. What? How dare you? I'm going to rip you arm to arm. I'm going to tell everybody. Okay, then you're going to have to. And I will still be standing here holding these truths because this is who I am. And if I am this person and the rest of the world does not agree that that is an important person, that their message does not matter, then I will still just be this person with this message. And it matters not whether or not that was for you or not. Because this is who I am. And this is my truth. And I'm going to stand here still knowing this truth, even if the rest of the world decides that they picked a new one. This I know. This is who I am. And because most people are psychically in a cycle, are uprooting in a cycle, people who stand that solidly in something are disruptive at this point because you can pick it apart, because you can pick through slowly and delicately. You can pick through everything that they have ever said and say, oh, see, remember that one time, remember this, remember, take it out of context, who knows. And you can say, oh, really, you're this person? I don't think so. Remember this? Are you sure? You wrote this, but did you mean this? I don't know. Are you sure that you know who you are? And it's really not a matter of true or false. It's a matter of rooted versus unrooted, and the unsettling nature of a rooted, strong truth teller. And I don't know, I just felt like, the world is polarizing enough. It is a scary place to tell the truth right now. And not even the truth of everyone. Like there are truth tellers on all sides, on spiritual and Christian and Muslim and just everything. And we get to just choose. And that can be a really great thing for all of us because we can find people that matter to us. We can find values like we've never been able to before. We don't have to settle for the overarching of this is what I can access. If I want to access religion or spirituality, I can access this one thing because it's in my community and I can't access anything else. I can only drive to this. And if I want something else, I'm going to be the black sheep. I'm going to be outcast. Well, that's not a reality anymore, which also means people who are unrooted or are rooted in their truths, but maybe not in a healthy place with that truth, not in a loving place. Sorry, I don't think it's health. I think it's not in a loving place of that, where there isn't acceptance of other people, can kind of come in and attack those other things where we could all just live and love that everybody has their thing. And what a beautiful time to live in. While it is, in the first hand, a really scary place to tell the truth, it is also a really beautiful place to tell the truth because there are so many opportunities for you to connect. And I think if we got closer to the loving side of this reality, that being hyper connected to people is really powerful, because no one has to have that feeling of not feeling someone, of not having someone there. That's really powerful. And I think if we get to a place where we utilize these communication structures for love, it could be a really beautiful place. I think right now we're just in this reactive, destructive state of utilizing those communication platforms, but I don't think that was their intention, even if that is how they capitalize and profit now. I don't think that's what they were made for. It really was about connection, and still is. Being able to FaceTime a loved one while you're sick is really powerful. Being able to connect across countries is really powerful. And we are living in a really beautiful time. It's just we have to find the love in all of that as well. And I think that can be a tough balance at times. As always, you're smart, you're strong, you're beautiful. What are you going to do? Change the world.